Namaskara. Welcome back again. So earlier I was talking about the secularism and inclusion, and I was giving some global examples and the need for it, and some of the reasons why it is in decline. Are kind of people have started suspecting it, looking down the secularism, right? And I was talking about it, and let me continue that same topic with more specific to India, and also I'll give some details about the global conflicts that happen, but because of lack of secularism. Let me share, put into slide share mode. Okay, so India has been largely tolerant country for long period, millennia. Right? Yes, there were some periods where there were intolerance, and there were a lot of violence that has happened between various communities, between Hindu and Muslim, and Hindu and Christian. For example, in Goa, it happened, and Hindu and Muslim in various periods. So they can go, but and there were also subset fights among the Hindus as well. But if you keep those small periods, small locations aside, but to large extent, India remained secular and tolerant, so for millennia, and it's a strength. I think we all need to understand it. So and that's the only way we can country would have survived in different forms and shapes. Again, it doesn't mean that everything was great in the society back then. We had a lot of issues with untouchability, caste hierarchy, limited rights, and freedom for women, sati, child marriages, polygamy, and so on and so forth. Right. So with all these things, so there was good amount of tolerance for my different races, religions and languages. Because of influence and competition from many religions, cultures, and societies, and a lot of progress was made in Indian society and Hindu religion in particular, Hindu religion and societies. Again, I said there were some conflicts time to time. So just want to give one example. So we everybody talks about Hindu Muslim conflicts, to some smaller extent Hindu Christian conflict as well. But I just want to give historical context to it. It's not that before Islam came to India, before Christianity came, the society was perfect. That's not the case. So I'll give one example. Ramanujacharya, the founder of Vishishtadvaita philosophy, so he had to run for his life from Tamil Nadu, which was practicing Shaivism at that time, Orthodox or kind of a very aggressive Shaivism in Chola, Tamil Nadu back then. It was called Chola Kingdom, right? So he had to run from there to protect himself, to save his life to Vaisala Kingdom, which is which is in Karnataka, and it was ruled by Jains, and he saved his life, and then he started spreading Vaishnavism in Karnataka. So this again, this happened in 10th century. 10th, I think, not it's 10th century, 10th or 11th century. I have to relook at it, but anyway, it happened, so roughly about 1,000 years ago. Again, there were a lot of people, or thousands of them were persecuted. Thousands of Sharanas or Lingaites, followers of Baswana, in Karnataka, North Karnataka. They were persecuted, they were butchered, and by the conservative Hindus, or the Hindu rulers. So because these Lingaites or Sharanas, they tried to establish new social and religious order where everyone was equal, and they didn't want to put another traditional Vedic society, a Vedic order on a pedestal, right? So that was questioned, and there was, so again, it was a great moment that happened, Sharana movement in the 11th century. I would suggest you to read about it, so then you will know about it. So the point here is, even before Islam was kind of spread in India, so we already had a lot of issues with the religions. And another point I just want to highlight is that whenever government deeply involves in religions, society headed for trouble. India became, or rather continued its secular status after independence, but it became secular state by constitution. This is in line with the progressive countries in the world, so whether it's America or Europe or Japan, etc. Right. So most of the developed countries are secular, and almost all developed countries are secular. Unlike in communist countries where the religion was banned or suppressed, India adopted religious freedom and equality because we were democratic and we believed in inclusiveness, we believed in diversity. And even before we got independence, before colonization, most of the kings and sultans and emperors were either fully or partially secular and tolerant of many religions and beliefs. This was the case because they kept expanding their territories. So when they expanded their territory, there would be people from different faiths and their languages, races and religions and languages. So they had to be tolerant, and otherwise there would be insurgencies. Potentially, they would put the ruler in trouble. Right? That is, it is out of pragmatic, practical need they were tolerant. But at the same, I think probably they were also some of them were quite humane as well. Why secularism is important for India and the world? Because as I said earlier, the world has is multicultural, multiracial, multi-religious, and multilingual as well, right? So there were people of different origin are there everywhere now, and India is no exception. In fact, India is the most diverse country in the world based on all these race, language, religion, and culture. And at one time, when we so going back to history, 3000 or 4000, we were enemies. We were kind of what is it, the worshipping trees, animals, and the different parts of the nature. And we then we moved, became tribals, and then we became Hindus, and then became the Buddhist, Jain, Muslim, Christian, etc. And we can go some of them, we might go back to or change our religions as well, or we might mix these religions. So there are a lot of people in the world now, they don't want to be associated with any organized religion, but they follow bits of different pieces from different religions. And secularism is the only way we can be really peacefully be part of the same society and nation. And individual freedom has to be respected as well. Right? And secularism is important for scientific discoveries. At times, the religions came in the way of scientific progress. And one thing that we have to remember, that whatever the material progress that has happened in the last 10, so the century to 1 to 2 centuries, largely because of the scientific progress and the international trade associated with the progress as well. But without scientific progress, world population would not have quadrupled, and the material progress, what we have seen, would not have happened. Okay. Again, I just want to tell that secularism is not just between the major religions. Okay, so it's not just between Islam, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, etc. It is also between the subsets of each of these religions. So Hinduism has Shaivism, Vaishnavism, Dvaita, Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, and so on, Sharana, and Kabir Panthis and all that, right? And then in Islam, there are Shia, Sunnis, Ahmadiyas, etc. And then in Christianity, there are Catholics, Protestants, Syrians, etc. Right? And even in Buddhism, there are Hinayana and Mahayana. There are many subsets of those things as well. In Jainism also, there are Shvetambara and Digambaras, right? So this secularism ensures that everybody, irrespective of their major religion or minor sects, they're all treated equally. They all have the same rights. And there were, one thing also need to remember, that there were fights among the subsects of the same religion, even same caste as well, right? So I've heard of these things, where different ayers from different geographical locations, Kumbakonam, Tanjavur, and Palghat, kind of discriminating on themselves and telling that okay, we are the superior compared to other, the other ayers they may not agree on many things. So there is superiority complexes, and there are different beliefs, and there is a diversity of beliefs, and also some practices as well. So this is one small minor community having so much of differences in opinions, right? Think about the all the religion subsets we have. So it's very essential that the government treats everybody equally, irrespective of what their affiliations, religious affiliations are. Why secularism important for India? Again, I told you about this one, right? And let's look at what would happen. In fact, what happened for lack of secularism. Sri Lanka, as I said earlier, they had 3 decade long, ethnic conflict, really, really serious conflict. There was serious war, internal war between Sri Lankan military and then the separatists, so LTT and other groups, and it killed 50,000 people, destroyed, a lot of properties, and also, they lost 3 decades of economic opportunities, right? And Pakistan, Bangladesh got separated. Pakistan was split into two pieces. Of course, India got benefited because of it, but why did it happen? Because of the racial and linguistic differences. I mean, kind of little different from the religion thing, but the fault lines are kind of these things. As I said earlier, Singapore Prime Minister told that race, language, and religion are the typical fault lines in the breaking up of the societies, right? So the Bangladesh, they were discriminated. They were not treated fairly. The resources were not allocated, kind of fairly, and and that's that. And they declared Urdu as the national language, right? Ignoring the Bengali language, right? So that resulted in splitting. The major civil war, almost causing 300,000, 400,000 deaths, and major war, and so on and so forth. Right? Afghanistan is facing a lot of issues, as you all know that for last 4 decades also. And Iran, Iraq, the war happened for 8 years. Uh, there were deaths of about 1 to 2 millions. And the pre-war Germany, the pre-World War II, I think you would know that there was this Holocaust which killed 6 million Jews. There were 9 million Jews before World War II, and 6 million of them were killed very, very brutally. And it also triggered World War II. And so there were more than 50 million people died, and property was destroyed across the world, right? So the roots of this was the race, and and the religion. And Rwanda had similar conflicts, killing for 500,000 people. Yugoslavia broke into this happened in the 1990s, broke into pieces, and there was tens of thousands of deaths happened. And India Pakistan partition. This is one of the best. The not the best example, but one of the examples we all need to remember that is the country was split along the religious lines, and there were 1 million deaths, 10 million displacement. One thing just I want to highlight: the deaths happened on both sides, Hindus and Hindus, Sikhs, and Muslims as well. It's not that it happened only Hindus and Sikhs were killed. It's not the case. Typically, that's what a lot of Hindu and Indians think that way. Please go and read the partition of India in Wikipedia, which shows the data from Indian side, data from Pakistani side, and also data from third party side, right? And with the hostility between India and Pakistan continues even now, right? And Israel Palestine, the recent Hamas war, and this conflict has been there for last 75 years, and that is it has origin to the religious and racial hatred. Okay, coming back to the religious tolerance, right? So after independence, because of the constitution and because of the that lot of peaceful protests and a lot of efforts by Gandhi and followers in uniting people of different religion, language, and race, right? So that helped to maintain a fair and good want to create a constitution which respects all religion and declared the state as secular. And because of that, there's good tolerance, and also minorities enjoyed full freedom and equal rights. And we had, just to give some examples, we had four Muslim presidents, the first citizen of the country, right? And one Sikh president, and several big businesses started and headed by Muslims and Christians as well. And there are a lot of key positions in arts, film, sports, etc., that are held by the minorities. And Indian Muslim population, it was roughly about 9.5 10% of during the independence, and it has gone up to 15% in the last 75 years, right? So, which this you have to compare with the kind of significant decline in Pakistan and Bangladesh. All sects of Islam and Christianity enjoyed equal rights and freedom. So the Indian minority, particularly Muslims, were well protected during post-partition because we had to do it, and excluding some pocket, in the Punjab and Bengal, which got into violence, and as I said earlier, killing nearly a million people. Leaving the aside, post-independence, minorities were well protected. That was needed because there is an absolute need on humanitarian ground, and to keep our moral grounds high, right? And also build credibility. We just were in India, was born in an independent country, and we had to build credibility in the international forum and international communities, right? More importantly, there are a lot of Hindus in Pakistan, so Pakistan and Bangladesh, they need to be protected as well. Unless we protect our minority, well, we cannot demand Pakistan authorities to protect and provide the equal rights to the Hindus and Sikhs and Christians there, right? So that was absolutely necessary. And there have been some flare-ups. It's not everything was great after independence. There were some flare-ups. 1984 Delhi violence, Sikh violence happened, and after Indira Gandhi's assassination, there were few thousand Sikhs got killed, unfortunately, and there were Hindu-Muslim riots in 90s because of the Babri Masjid, the Ram Mandir conflict, and there was killing. There were killings in Gujarat, Godhra incidents, and following that there was a widespread repercussions and killing in 2,000 plus Muslims, right? So, and there were some insurgencies in Punjab and Northeast, and based on the religious roots as well. But leaving this aside, largely, the society was inclusive, largely secular, everybody enjoyed freedom and equal opportunity. In the last decade, things have changed, unfortunately, right? There's a lot of propaganda blaming, minority for various things, and there is a vilification, there is a demonization of Muslims, and this has created a lot of hatred for Muslims. And unfortunately, majority of the Hindus have been brainwashed by the last 10 year in the last 10 years, thanks to social media and propaganda machine. There have been social boycotts and intimidations of Muslims. There are enough examples of them. We can go and talk many of them. And however, this is all true. And also, I agree with a lot of left leaning, I mean left extremists, that this largely happened because of the Hindu aggressive Hindutva that has risen in the last 10 years. But that is not the only reason. Or the minorities also have to take a lot of blame as well. Over the last 4 to 5 decades, Muslim population is associating with more orthodox and puritanical Islam than the modern moderate Sufi and or Indianized Islam of earlier era. Right? And is younger Muslim and Christian population is disconnecting from Indian heritage, culture, and history. This is a sad reality. I think it has to be discussed and accepted by by the respective communities. So Muslims, you might have seen the kind of history in the last 30, 40 years. they get provoked easily for religious issues, and they were resorting to street violence and arsoning quite often. And then there were some terrorism incidences that have happened in the last 20-30 years that has also created a lot of perception about the community. This These things have been well harnessed by the political opportunities, largely by the Hindutva groups, but also on the other side as well, as a kind of protectors of these minorities, right? And they went to the extent of appeasing, sometimes covering up as well. So there is also organized religious conversion that has become big. I think that we need to acknowledge that unless we acknowledge faults on both sides, we will not be able to build bridge. And also we have to appreciate the good things in the other opposite side and the other side as well, right? So need honest reflections and actions. So what is the way forward with all these things, right? I think the way forward is very simple. We have to have mutual respect, empathy, compassion, and rationality. These are very critical for secularism, peace, and prosperity. Right. So the majority of the Indian population need to understand the need for secularism, and lack of that, how it has triggered a lot of war, destruction, and deaths in many parts of the world. We have to learn from that. And additionally, India will lose face internationally if we don't treat our minorities well. We have a large Indian and Hindu diaspora across the world who are minority, those countries, and they will face issues if we don't treat our minorities well. And the Hindus need to realize and appreciate that Christian missionary institutes have played enormous role in providing modern and quality education and healthcare for masses. We need to appreciate, while we can crib about and criticize and even kind of question the organized conversions that are happening now in the recent decades, right? So Hindus also need to realize the vast majority of Muslims are hardworking and have a lot of blue collar skills and are also great artisans. Muslims have contributed and enriched Indian art, architecture, literature, music, administration, and in the nation building as well. Also, for various reasons, Muslims are also extremely poor, especially in the urban areas. Everyone need to have some amount of elementary knowledge in all major religions. If there are questions, concerns, opinions, let's put them politely and debate them in a civilized manner. So what again? I think on the other side, the Muslims have to reform within their own communities, reduce population growth, and higher population of Muslim will make the society Muslim large section of the Muslim society is already poor. It will make it even worse, right? And also, world is facing a lot of environmental issues, and especially India is facing a lot of environmental and climate change related issues, and it will worsen with the higher population. So, and also Muslims need to focus on liberal and secular education. And this is not me telling. I'll show you some of the example. I mean, the different liberals and liberal advocates in different Islamic countries talking similar thing. And Muslims have to learn about Indian Hindu heritage history and appreciate the good parts of it. Remember that in Islam had a golden age, and when it was open and inclusive. And I'll talk about the Mughals translating into scriptures, into epics, and to Persian. Indian Muslims and Christians have to be self-critical before pointing to other side. I think this is something that I've observed across. I mean, in widespread. The moment you question or kind of talk anything on the Muslim or Christian, immediately they counter that, and they point finger at Hindu, the society. It's fine, but at the same time, how much of Hindu, yes, a Muslim or Christians society in India are self-critical? I can show you that 50% of Hindus question the practices in Hindus society in India. I think this conversion, I talked about it. There's in the current environment, there's no need of conversion. Spread the message of Christ or the Muhammad, but we have, there's no need of organized large scale conversion. So we have to preserve, Indian, Hindu, Buddhist, Jain heritage and history, and also we can pick good things from every religion, but doing conversion will not is not needed in the current environment. This is one thing I wanted to highlight, and this is important for all sections of the India. I mean, all religious followers of India. Mughals translated Hindu text to Persian. So the Upanishads, Mahabharata, and Ramayana. Right. So it started probably from Akbar time, and then so it went to a lot of conversion happened during Aurangzeb's, I think Shah Jahan's time, and Aurangzeb's half brother, uh, Dara Shikoh, was a great admirer of Hindu scriptures. He wanted to understand what it is, and then really reflected, and he saw a lot of similarity between our Upanishads and epics and Islam, right? He himself translated many of them, right? Why did he do it? Because he saw a lot of value, good things in the texts, right? I think this is one thing that current Muslims, younger generation Muslims, have to understand and appreciate this fact. And current Hindu, younger generation Hindus have to understand that the Mughals were largely secular, and they put a lot of and gave a lot of respect for Hindu, knowledge and Hindu practices, and then Hindu our texts, right? And same thing with for Christians as well. So why would Muslims translate to this one? And they have to. I think there are very few Christians, and unfortunately, I've seen appreciating good things in Hindu Upanishads or epics. And this was to show that the under Mughal there was a fair degree of unity and mutual respect, except during Aurangzeb period. And because of that, unity and tolerance, the country was united, and the trade, the economic progress happened. And in fact, during the peak of Mughal period, India was the biggest economy, if not the biggest, the second biggest. It could be same as China, or we could be the biggest economy in the world back then. And once that the tolerance was gone during Aurangzeb time, and there was a lot of disunity among the different states, provinces of Mughal, and then started empire started breaking up. So Marathas again started unifying under Hindu umbrella or Hindu flag or Hindu this one. But unfortunately, the India was quite fragmented back then, and I think again tolerance probably was not great compared to the some of the Mughal Empire, and there was quite a bit of fights among the various states of India that helped the British to establish their colony and finally taking over the whole country. And then I just wanted to highlight that Vivekananda, his message about the tolerance and in the respect for all religions, tolerance, and also his view that so there are good things everywhere. And he told that for our own motherland, a junction of two great systems, Hinduism and Islam, Vedanta brain and Islam body is the only hope. I am firmly persuaded that without the help of practical Islam, theories of Vedantism, however fine and wonderful they may be, are entirely valueless to the vast mass of mankind. Right. So this is the way he was looking at good things on both sides. Right. So and he was immensely proud about in our Hinduism and the Vedanta and Upanishads and so and our epics, etc. At the same time, he was equally critical about a lot of not so great things in Hindu society, right? He was also fearless in criticizing any bad things in any religion, right? At the same time, he was very respectful of all the religions, and he told that the what was needed was the addressing poverty, abject poverty, hunger, and lack of moral first, and not spreading the religions or building temples, mosques, and churches. That was his message. You have to address the basic needs of people first. The spirituality comes only after that. And another thing, just I want to highlight, it's not just the India is facing this secularism problem. In fact, decline of Pakistan, in fact, destruction of Pakistan started happening, 30, 40 years ago when the Orthodox religion started taking root in Pakistan. So there are small minority in Pakistan, minority leaders, not minority religious, but small segment of the society who are advocating and fighting for secularism and tolerant and progressive and rational outlook in the society, right? So I'm giving two examples here. Dr. Parvez Hoodbhai, he is a nuclear physicist. He studied in Pakistan. He was born and studied in Pakistan and went to MIT and did his PhD there. And so now he's, nuclear physicist turned historian. There are a lot of videos in English and in Urdu and Punjabi. Please listen to them. And similarly, Ishtiaq Ahmad, he was born in Pakistan. He's a political scientist. He lives in Stockholm, but both of them really advocate for tolerant, secular, inclusive, and rational and progressive society, right? So why they are doing it? Because they saw the destruction that happened, and also the lot of troubles that Pakistan is currently facing, mainly because of lack of secularism, lack of inclusiveness, and lack of openness, which is required for scientific progress, and rational mentality that is required for scientific progress. I talked about Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. Please listen to his videos. And I would also suggest listening or reading about age of Islam that happened roughly between 8th and 13th century, because that during that period, in the Arabic Islamic world, the society was very tolerant, very inclusive. They would take great ideas from any religion, any culture. In fact, they absorbed a lot of knowledge from Persian, Arabic, Jewish, Indian, Chinese, Greek, and Roman civilizations and cultures, and they blended it and they created a lot of new knowledge. You can see these are all the areas they created new knowledge: philosophy, mathematics, natural sciences, engineering, social sciences, hospital, medicine, and so on and so forth, astronomy, architecture, so on and so forth. Right? There's so much of things that was created because they were receptive of the ideas from various cultures and religions. Right? This is very important for Indian Hindus and Muslims, because Hindus think that okay, so all great things were there only in India, and so we always had great things even before Islam came to picture and came to India, right? And also they need to remember that they were absorbing the this 12th to 8th to 12th century Islamic world. They were absorbing a lot of things from that. That is how they became powerful in terms of this creating new knowledge and new way, new uh, discoveries, new ways of doing things, etc. Right? And the why Indian Muslims have to learn about it, because when Islamic society was open, they absorbed a lot of knowledge from everywhere and they created a lot of new knowledge. And of course, now the West has taken that knowledge to next level, right? So Indians have contributed, no doubt about it. But the Arab world between 8th and 13th century, Arab Islamic world took these ideas, took it to next level. There are a lot of videos about it. There's one by Professor Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he's an American physicist. You can listen to this about the golden age of Islam. And there's a Khan Academy video. There are plenty of them. You can see a couple of them, and then you will get a good view on this, or perspective on this golden age of Islam. And just one thing, the Khan Academy, though it's don't get carried away or kind of look narrowly that okay, Khan Academy we should be kind of praising a lot of things about these golden age of Islam. No, is Khan Academy is from Salman Khan. From his parents migrated from Bangladesh to US, and he was born in US, and he was educated in liberal Western education system, and he gives a good view of this. That he, in fact, he highlights that how the things Arabic Islamic world got impact are influenced by Sanskrit, Greek, Chinese, Persian, etc. I think let me take a pause here. So it's going a little long. Let me stop here.